In today's episode, we're answering a question about bathroom vent fans.
And later, you'll meet Catherine, who is undertaking one of the wildest rehab projects we have ever heard about.
But first, I'm Stacy Grinsfelder.
And I'm Daniel Cantor.
And you're listening to True Tales from Old Houses. Hello, Daniel.
Hello.
How does it feel to hear yourself after all this time?
Different.
We should explain.
Yeah, we did about an hour at the top of the show of just troubleshooting my sound once again. And we seem to have made a breakthrough, which was that I have not been doing this correctly the whole time. And so Stacy, you should explain it because I don't know what happened.
I will. But before I do that, I do want to say a very special thank you to our sponsors for season 12, the window course from Scott Seidler of the Craftsman blog, Sutherland Wells, Repaint Studios, and Old House Hub from My Old House Fix.
Thank you so much to our wonderful sponsors.
So anyway, this sound issue, what happens when you podcast is that you have a mic, you have headphones, and when you plug everything in, you should be able to hear both yourself and the person that you are speaking with. And apparently all this time, Daniel, you have never been hearing yourself in your headphones.
Right. Which was a blessing, as it turns out, for me. I think for you, it may have made editing a little challenging over the course of these 60 some odd episodes we've had.
Well,
sorry.
It does solve a few mysteries on my end, I have to admit. But anyway, it's a learning. We're always learning, right? Lifelong learners here.
When you work with me, it's really a custom experience. Everyone has to learn how to work around me, basically.
Well, and you're worth it. What can I say? You're worth it.
Stop it. So.
Big deal today because
it's a big day.
Today is the last episode of season 12, which is always kind of sad for me.
I know. It feels fast as lightning. And then I go over the list of people that we had quite a season.
We did.
Really good season.
I think so too. We had some really engaging guests and we hit on some really interesting topics. And yeah, it feels like both yesterday and also a long time ago that we started season 12. So yeah, I just want to mention too that we're going to take listener questions while we are on hiatus. So you can send those through the contact form at truetalesfromoldhouses.com. And we're also really open to your feedback on this season, things you want to tell us, things you wish we'd talk about next season, that kind of thing. We are totally open to that. The plan is for us to be back for season 13, lucky 13. 13. The plan is to be back in September, but all of you know that I'm moving. Life is a little bit chaotic right now. So we may very well just start back up with October ghost stories, which kind of is fitting for the season 13, don't you think?
Actually, yes. Now that you say it, I love that.
We'll let you know. We'll put an announcement on social media. We're not sure. That is the beauty of the self-produced podcast. It's the beauty and the curse, right? Because sometimes I wish that we had a network and we had a whole functioning production team behind us that just said, come and talk about old house stuff. But the truth is, here we are. We're just getting by. We're getting through it.
I mean, that's basically how it works for me. But you do much more.
Maybe it's me that wishes we had all of that. Yeah.
But let me try to contribute and say this is a great time to actually hit that subscribe or follow button if you haven't done that already, because then when the show starts up again, you won't need to be searching for an announcement somewhere. It'll just show up right up in your feed on your podcasting app of choice.
Good point. Didn't even think of that. So yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
A couple of other things I want to say. The Wood Window Workshop at Silver Lake, it's officially sold out, but we do have the wait list open for a few more days this week. It actually closes on June 20th. So I wanted to mention it again, just in case anybody still wants to go on that wait list, because maybe there'll be a spot open. I don't know.
It could happen. Very fun.
Mm-hmm. And also, another big deal for today is that it's time to announce our book winners.
They've been waiting and waiting.
During episode 168, Scott Seidler and I, we agreed to give away 2 copies of our book, The Case for Historic Windows. And the winners, maybe I'll get a drum roll here. Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm not it.
The winners are Brenda Wyman and Kylie Seacrest. So congratulations to both of you.
Congratulations, you guys. Enjoy.
Scott's signing his copies. He'll send them to me. I'll sign them, and then I will send them to you, Brenda and Kylie. And thanks to everyone who entered. If you're interested in buying a copy of that book, you can find it at thecaseforhistoricwindows.com. It's also linked right from my website, Blake Hill House. So if you can't remember that whole unwieldy name, blakehillhouse.com.
Yes, go buy the book.
So any follow-up on your end, Daniel?
Not really, except I have a funny story for you.
Okay,
like
go
a
for
little,
it.
Almost, I don't know, like it's weird, but it's not like doesn't come together really, but it's interesting. So my neighbor has been preparing to move, and she, as one does, has been sort of getting rid of a lot of stuff. And so I've been assisting with the effort by filling the trash can every week before trash night. So, they don't have to come to the house all the time because I can throw 5 bags in the can. This time, one of these bags was very heavy and it burst open. And I was like, oh no, this is what I've been dreading because I don't want to see what she's throwing out because I want it. So I've been so good about not peeking. Anyway, so this bag bursts open and all this stuff falls out and I'm putting it in the can and it's mostly junk. And then there's a stack of Life magazines. And the very first one is July 1986, which is my brother's birth month. My older brother was born in July 1986. I thought, oh, how cool. How fun would this be for him to see? So I grabbed that. Then the next one down is a May 1997 issue. And right along the top, I'm showing Stacy. See right there? It says 97 Dream House, inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright, designed by Taliesin.
What?
So then it gets better. Hold on. I go in and, hold please, this house was designed, can you see that? John Rattenberry.
Oh, John Rattenberry.
You stayed in his apartment.
Oh, wow. I sure did.
So in 1997, this home was the Life magazine Dream Home of the Year, and it was designed by John Rattenberry, who at the time, 68, a protege of Frank Lloyd Wright, is the Taliesin architect responsible for this year's dream house. Isn't that weird?
I'll be darned. All this stuff just comes around. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I should send this to you probably.
I'd love to see it. Yeah. Or you can just, wait, I can hear the pages.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I can hear the pages rattling.
You mean I'm not supposed to be reading magazines while I'm recording a podcast?
Please don't. But yes, I can pick it up at another time. But save it for me because if I have to tell you that,
weird?
Right?
Yeah. Isn't that so strange?
That is really sort of serendipitous, right?
Yeah. Odd.
Wow. Who would have thought? Yeah, we hit Frank Lloyd Wright pretty hard this season, didn't we?
We really did. And if that part of the issue doesn't interest you, the major breakthroughs in asthma care from 1997 may fascinate and delight. I don't know.
I wonder if we've made any advances since then. Who knows,
Probably not.
Right?
Who knows?
All right. Well, that's great. We do need to take a quick break, though. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Listener Q&A is up next.
True Tales from Old Houses is supported by The Window Course. The Window Course, created by our friend Scott Seidler of the Craftsman blog, is a step-by-step do-it-yourself program that will teach you everything you need to know to successfully restore the wood windows at your house. It is self-paced, so you can go as fast or as slow as you need, and there are several price points to fit your needs and budget.
Now is the perfect time to restore windows. And the Window Course has all of the information you need all in one place.
Scott is offering his students a special deal. So if you sign up for the Lifetime Access Package or the Training Package, you'll also get a free infrared paint remover.
Even better, the Window Course is offered with a money-back guarantee, and Scott is giving True Tales from Old Houses listeners a special discount. For 10% off, visit thewindowcourse.com and use the coupon code TrueTales.
True Tales from Old Houses is also supported by Sutherland Wells. All of Sutherland Wells products are handcrafted in Providence, Rhode Island with the highest quality sustainably grown tung oil. Tung oil, which is native to China, has been used for centuries as a durable finish for wood, metal, and stone.
Polyurethane, that's just plastic. And unlike polyurethane, tung oil finish penetrates the surface of the wood so it flexes and it contracts as the conditions change. And that makes it the perfect pre-finish or protectant for everything from fine furniture to window sash and sills.
Stacy and I have both used Sutherland Wells products throughout our houses, but whatever you are working on, Sutherland Wells has an entire product line available for siding, hardwood floors, furniture restoration, cutting boards, really, you name it.
To learn more about the complete product line, visit Sutherland Wells, that's WELLES, SutherlandWells.com. And to save 10% on your first order, use our coupon code TrueTales. We're back. Welcome back, everyone.
And we're back. Hello.
All right. First, I have a quick follow-up on the chimney question that we answered on episode 170.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Christopher Brandt, our preservation architect friend, the one we've credited with WWCD, right? What would Chris do? He offered some follow-up to our suggestions. Just as a refresher, Natalie had questions about her chimney. She wanted to know whether she should cap it, take it down, or what was the other option? I don't remember.
Leave it alone, I think.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And we had some options for her. But something that we did not touch on that Chris mentioned is he said, if she wants to cap it, the cap should be ventilated so that no moisture gets trapped within the flue. That was not something I thought about because most of the time when I see caps, they may very well be vented. But, from our vantage point down on the ground, that's not something that we see. So I didn't even think about it.
I mean, would you like to hear about my chimney cap? It's just a piece of bluestone, just sort of there.
Well, and it may very well have some venting just because it's not sitting like completely flush with the top. I don't know.
It could be. Who knows?
Yes.
But thank you, Chris. That's a very good point that I definitely knew and was thinking about.
Something else that he mentioned is that although it's not code compliant, he said he's seen many existing chimneys that also served as a bearing point or column for the structural system of the house. So it's important to verify that that's not the case before removing it entirely.
Oh, Chris, you clever architect. That is true. I've seen that too. Never thought about. Okay.
All right. Yeah. So Natalie,
thank you, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone can benefit from Chris's additional input. And thanks again, Chris, for, saving our hides.
And your dedicated listenership.
Yeah, that too.
And your wonderful head of hair. Okay. I don't know.
You lucky duck. Yeah. All right. So today's question comes from Tara. Tara's question is different, although it does relate to venting. She says, our house has no vent fan in the bathroom. Is that a big deal? And if it is, what can we do?
Tear it down.
Tear it down.
Just kidding.
I guess we should handle the question first of, do we think it's a big deal? So Daniel, do you think it's a big deal?
No, but I don't think most things are a big deal. No, I generally do not think it's a big deal. How about you?
It can be. I'm not going to go so far as to say absolutely not. It can be if you live in a particularly humid, moist climate where you have 6 people taking showers every day and it's your bathroom is a really high traffic bathroom. Most of us think of vent fans purely related to smell. But without a fan, there is an issue of, when we were talking about showers, there is a problem with moisture collecting on the ceiling or on the walls and then creating a mildew or a mold issue. But there are a few ways you can solve that without a vent fan. And then we'll talk about vent fans in particular, actually installing one. I use, in the summertime when things are really hot and humid and there's lots of showers happening in my house, I do have a reversible fan that I can just, one of those that fits in a window. And you can bring...
Like a box fan?
Well, it's rectangle. It works
with
similar.
The 2 little guys?
Yes. And so at night, I actually use it in that window to bring in fresh air. And then if I want to vent everything from the bathroom out of it, you can actually reverse the blades of the fan and it will send all of the air out. So if you are taking lots of showers like that, then I just open, the windows open and I just turn the fan so that it vents out. That's one way that I have solved that problem. Another thing I have done is actually to run a small dehumidifier in the bathroom. I have a big bathroom rather, and a small dehumidifier can handle that. And I just kind of keep it running. That helps in my house too, because I don't have any air conditioning. So I'm cutting down on the humidity as well as reducing the humidity in the bathroom itself. Those are things that I do to make the situation better. I will say that I have very high humidity in the summer, but in the wintertime, because I have a forced air heating system, the humidity level is very low. So I don't worry about opening up the window or, my storm window vents. It's a wooden storm window, and I made it so that you can just kind of push it open to vent it. I don't usually do that in the winter because it's really cold and my humidity level is so low that I haven't had any issues. If you have any questions about your humidity level, though, you can get a little sensor, put it in that bathroom, and just see what the humidity setting is running to decide whether or not you need to address that. The fan may not be a big deal. And I say that because in the winter, it's not a big deal in my house. But in the summer, it is kind of a big darn deal. And so we handle it that way. How about you? Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I guess I will say I believe the code still is that you need either a fan or natural ventilation. Natural ventilation is a window that opens. Most of us will have that in a bathroom, one or the other. I don't have a vent fan in my bathroom. I don't really do any of the things Stacy just listed, although they're all very smart. I guess what I do tend to do now that I think about it is I don't usually really close the bathroom door because I live alone and
oh, good point.
So I guess not as much moisture really gets trapped. I will say for older bathrooms, if you have plaster walls, those should not harbor mold and mildew. So best to keep them around if you're not doing a fan. I think it would be pretty foolish to be doing a whole new bathroom and not just put in the fan. It's not that bad.
Good point.
The device itself, huge range in prices, but really the install is the part that it's just a pain because you have to vent through the outside wall. So wherever it's going in the room, you need a wider space than the actual device takes up to be able to install it between the joists. Then you need to run the duct out and have a cap on the outside. You can potentially cut some of that out if you did a through wall fan, which is still a thing. They were more common in the mid-century, but you can still buy them and use them.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, it just goes through the wall.
Okay, so it goes through the wall. Is it on the wall or is it still in the ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's just on the wall and it has it'll come with a little plastic vent cover. So I did this at the cottage. I had a situation where I could really only do a through wall. So they're made, I think, either for a 2x4 wall or a 2x6 wall. The vent cap is larger because it's a 6-inch diameter. And then it has a damper. So it shouldn't be super drafty or anything, but it's just straight out.
Efficient.
It's
okay.
not going through a duct or anything. But you can swap out that cheap plastic, whatever grate, for a cool antique grate. And
sure.
Then it kind of just looks like part of an old heat system or something. So I did that at the cottage. Where was I going with that?
That's all right, because the vents are pretty unsightly. And that's been a dilemma at my house, is that if I go right out the front, then I would have these twin circles on my house that don't appeal to me at all. And so I admit I've dragged my feet on that for the sole purpose of just that I don't like the way it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an issue.
I totally get that.
That's an issue.
I will say there are, if you go online, some better looking vent caps than you are likely to find in the hardware store. I would say this is totally we're getting tangential here, but don't buy those plastic ones. They fail within a year. They always break.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And I do really like these extractor fans that I've put in a bunch of bathrooms at this point, and they basically just look like a recessed light, but the air kind of goes up around the bulb and
nice.
So you don't have any kind of plastic grade. It's not like a clear plastic thing with a light above it. It just looks like a light bulb. And now they make them similar that are like an LED kind of more modern flush kind of light. I'm not explaining it very well.
That's okay. Well, it's not very noticeable. And you could still use the lighting that you like, as a sconce or even as a separate overhead light, just depending on where you have it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So when I'm doing a bathroom, I like to place them kind of just central above the tub or the shower, because I find that, especially if there's a curtain or something, it's often kind of dark in there. And that's where the most of your, moisture is going to be produced. So it seems to work out really well. People like it.
All right.
Yeah. The device is maybe $100, but then it's all the work and the surrounding.
Yeah. All the labor to get it vented and installed. So I did pursue at one point, because I was so turned off by the idea that I would have two twin little circle vent fans pointing outside the front of my house, the street side of my house, that I did talk to. It was a plumber contractor, basically. And he said, there is one that you can vent out the roof line. So the benefit to that would be, of course, that you wouldn't have those twin vents, or you wouldn't have a vent on the front of your house. The downside is that anytime you make an opening in your roof, you've just created another potential problem down the line. The other thing is that all of that moisture goes up, but it can get trapped in the duct itself and then kind of drip down and then create almost some pooling if you're going straight out the roof line. So it is helpful. And that was an issue. I thought, well, great, that's a separate thing. So I did some more research and found out that you can attach a booster fan that kind of creates a sort of a turbo boost to the fan itself. And then it connects to this turbo fan and then it shoots it up even. So there'd be less moisture potential collecting in the duct. But it is always a thing. So, there are lots of ways to handle this. You just kind of have to decide, Tara, what is important to you or, what seems right to you. I'm personally at this point still going low tech, but I'm open to the possibility that that technology will change and there'll be something really great available for old houses at some point.
I think it is the kind of thing that probably live with it, see how it's going. The bathroom's not going to be like overtaken with black mold overnight. Like, you'll start to see things or you won't. And, it'll be okay.
I hope we've given you some things to think about, Tara, and we really appreciate your question.
Thank you, Tara.
So as we mentioned at the top of the show, we're still taking questions while we are on hiatus. If you have something you'd like us to answer in an upcoming episode, shoot us a message through the contact form or leave us a voicemail. Daniel, tell the people how.
You're going to go to truetalesfromoldhouses.com. You're going to see in the bottom right corner a microphone icon. You are going to click that icon. From there, you will receive some prompts. You will follow those prompts. Then you will leave a voicemail. Then we will hear it. Then we will be so thrilled. We will rejoice. Did I do it?
Excellent. Very succinct, to the point.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I will save all those questions and we will get to them when we come back next fall.
Can't wait to hear them.
It's time for another break, Daniel.
Okay. Our interview with Catherine is up next.
True Tales from Old Houses is supported by Repaint Studios. Daniel, in the past, how did you store your paint tray when you were mid-project?
I'll be honest, I would store cheap plastic paint liners in the trash.
Well, similar issue here, except I used a garbage bag and that was a sticky mess. But now I use the Repaint tray.
I have also made the conversion. Let's spread the word.
Billy, the inventor, knew that this was a problem for so many, so she created the solution, and now her woman-owned business is disrupting the paint industry. The Repaint tray solves that mid-project paint storage problem. It has a reusable silicone liner, an airtight lid, and it keeps your paint fresh for weeks.
Weeks, like weeks, and more weeks.
It's like Tupperware, but for your paint tray.
Absolutely. The tray itself, I would like to note, is a very heavy-duty metal, so it doesn't slide around or wobble when you're using it. Plus, when you're done painting, you just let the paint dry in the silicone liner, and then you can peel it right out like the next day, and man, does it feel good.
The tray, silicone liner, and lid are built to last, which is better for you and the planet. It's the last paint tray you'll ever need, so save those garbage bags for the trash can.
Snag one for yourself at repaintstudios.com. And for 10% off your order, use the coupon code TrueTales10.
True Tales from Old Houses is also supported by Old House Hub, brought to you by My Old House Fix. Next question, Daniel. Have you ever spent hours scrolling Facebook groups, Reddit threads, obscure websites, random YouTube videos, trying to find answers about your old house problem?
I think you know the answer, but in case you're not sure, I absolutely have. Not to mention those deep dives where you come out 3 hours later, you know everything about a certain topic that is totally unrelated to your project and haven't meaningfully made any progress. Does that sound like a thing?
That sounds like a thing. And that's where we are excited to tell everyone about the Old House Hub from My Old House Fix.
The Old House Hub is like your headquarters for all things old house. It's an exclusive online community where you can gather resources, browse archives by topic, and connect with fellow enthusiasts and get expert advice too. It's a place where you can share your passions without getting lost in endless social media feeds.
There's no creepy AI algorithm suggesting totally unrelated content. It's just good, meaningful conversations with people who get it. So no more scrolling, no more headaches, just connection and answers.
It's like that good old school internet, but for old house lovers. And the best part is that right now, True Tales from Old Houses listeners can get a 1-year membership to the Old House Hub for free with the coupon code TrueTales.
But that great deal is only available during this season of the podcast. So when season 12 ends, the deal ends.
So get on it. Visit oldhousehub.com to join the Old House Hub community for free and finally have a go-to place for your old house questions, projects, and inspiration. Today's guest is Catherine Holloway, also known as To the Shireborn on Instagram. Catherine is restoring a massive historic home. Just wait until you hear how big it is. She's doing this all while raising a family and leaning into her own creative roots.
Hi, my name's Catherine Holloway and I run a social media account called To the Shireborn. On my account, I show the renovation of our family home that we bought 7 years ago and kind of the sort of behind the scenes of restoring a historic property, the sort of the good, the bad, and also a bit of the ugly too.
Hi, Catherine.
Welcome.
Hi.
We have been looking forward to this interview and it took a little bit to get it scheduled. So I'm so excited you're here. You are the last interview of season 12. You are going to be wrapping up season 12 for us. So thank you. We'll give people lots to think about while we're off during the summer.
Oh, thank you very much for having me as well. It's awesome.
So you have a very unique house. And I guess we'll get to the first time I recall just being sort of blown away by your house. But let's start with the history of it because it is quite special. Go for it. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up moving there 7 years ago.
And this is our third property together. So our first one was reasonably old. It was older than this one. It was dating back to 1640. So it was quite an old property. And that was our first home. So that was kind of a lot to deal with. That was also grade 2 listed in a conservation area. We took on quite a lot with that one. After a few years, we sold that one and then moved on to a more modern house because we thought we might have a little break from renovating, do something a little bit easier maybe. And then kind of ended up doing that up as well and thought we've got one more project left in us. And we thought, let's go big. Let's go for a big one. Something that will keep me busy because I like to always have a few projects on the go and try different things and learning different things too. So this house took us about nearly 18 months to find. We'd seen lots of other properties in the area. We lost a lot. We got outbid, all the usual kind of stuff, really. And this one came up and I think we sort of viewed it. And we came around, we had 40 minutes. There was loads and loads of viewings on this house. And we had to literally just walk around and go, oh my God, this is massive. Wow, this is amazing kind of thing. Didn't really take all of it in. And then we had to wait. Probably took about 6-7 months before we found out that we got it.
Wow.
And then that was it. The sort of the saga happened because we had looked at it and been around the property then a couple of times after, but we'd spotted a few things, like maybe there's a fireplace there, maybe there's this there, but we hadn't really sort of got into what could be here really and what we could have uncovered. So it's been a bit of a surprise. Every time we do a job, we uncover something that then leads us on a totally different path of restoration and history and all sorts of things.
Okay, you've opened up a couple of additional questions for me. Yeah.
So many stupid American questions for you.
Yeah, the first 45 seconds of the interview, and we're like, okay, we have a lot to ask you, Catherine, just from that. So 1640 was your first house. You said from the 1640s. That's incredible to me because we have baby architecture here in the United States. I mean, 1800s, we're thinking, oh, that's old here. You said you learned a lot about the work that you're doing now in that house. As new homeowners, what was the surprising thing to you? Or what were some surprising things about a house from the 1600s?
With that one, there's a lot of different construction with that. So it was a timber frame building and it had partial bits that were brick infilled. We had to do quite a bit of work to the roof on that. It was an old bakery. So it had, where there was a fireplace, there was all different kind of ovens and bits and pieces where it all fitted together and stuff. There were little secret staircases that lifted up. It was a really, really cool house. But yeah, there was just lots of things learning about materials, wooden floors, quarry tiles, all the sort of different materials, and also what you kind of had to do to get a mortgage. I don't know whether it's similar in the UK, in the US, but for us, we have to, sometimes mortgage companies want you to do things like put damp courses and damp proofing and things like that in to secure the lending. But we kind of felt really passionate about that house and didn't want to do anything that would have been detrimental to sort of the fabric of the original property, really. So we had to fight quite hard to get that one and then obviously do it up. And then that was it. It sold straight away. So it was a bit, I loved that house. I was really sad when we left that, to be honest.
Yes.
Did you talk about that house at all on social media or did you really just start that with the Shireborn?
Yeah, no, we just sort of, oh God, it was years ago when we had that one. So yeah, I never really showed, I've got some photos of it and stuff, but we were only there a couple of years. So it was way before all the whole Instagram and TikTok and all the rest of it. So yeah, I've got pictures of it, but they're all literally like iPhone photos and stuff like that. They're probably really blurry and things.
I would love to see them. I, for one. Could I just circle back really fast? Why did it take 7 months to find out between offer and acceptance? That just broke my brain. I couldn't sit for that long.
I think it was just because there were so many like people that viewed the property. There were so many people. And then obviously some people put in higher offers and things like that. So it kind of like fell through a few people before it came to us. They were probably a bit more like switched on with what was going to needed doing on the property and things like that. So it kind of like came through a few people maybe, and then we were still there in the background going, oh, wonder if that house is sold, sort of seeing it online still going, oh, still not offline yet. Maybe it's still for sale. And we just always keep inquiring. And then, like I say, eventually it did. They phoned up and said, oh, if you'd still like it, there's an offer there. And we were like, oh, anyway. And that was it.
Wow.
So it kind of like took quite a while. And then there was quite a thing with surveys and all that sort of stuff that sort of had to happen as well. So I think our buying process for houses is a lot more complicated or a lot more long-winded than you guys. It's kind of, you're more straightforward with it.
I think especially when there's like any kind of historic protection, it just changes the game outside of this country. Here, it's like, not that. It doesn't offer much protection, nor does it complicate things too much.
Right. Yeah. Huh. So did you have to adjust your offer at all when they finally came back to you and said, okay, are you still interested? Did you have to change your offer?
Really. It was just kind of like we were still really interested, and we were in rented then. We'd already sold our other house. So we were kind of, everything was all in storage, and we were just sort of waiting, really. We were just like, oh, we've got to find a house somewhere. So we were straight ready to go with this one.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this one, because to me, at least the pictures that I see of it make it look like a castle. So, I mean, how big is this house? How would you describe it to people?
So this one, it's around 12,000 square foot, the property. It's over a cellar and then 3 floors above. So it's kind of like, it's all a bit of a sprawling place. It's a date in official sort of documents is 1830, but we've had like historians come round, brick experts, all sorts of people that are into historic buildings. And they definitely think that it was potentially 2 buildings that's then all been joined and then added on, and especially in the Victorian era. They kind of like went to town with the place and added on different bits and pieces. So yeah, we think, but we need to get, I think it's a dendrochronologist to come round.
Oh, what's that now?
And help us sort of try and, it sounds very fancy words, to date the timber.
I need to hear this word again. What is the word?
Is it dendrochronologist?
Should I live fact check?
Yeah, go for it. Live fact check that.
I gotta know. I've never heard this in my life.
Super interesting. So that person would come along and date the timber and could they determine when it was cut or, what its age and...
Yeah, they'd put like drill tiny little holes kind of like in various different timbers and stuff. And then they can sort of date it. And then, obviously we think that some of them are off different buildings and then they were repurposed to make parts of this building. So we've got some parts that are timber framed, we've got some parts that are brick, we've got little sections that are wattle and daub. We've got all sorts of stuff. It's such a mixture, this house is. It's kind of quite interesting how it's all been added to and changed and developed over the years to what you kind of see now, really.
And just to follow up, right from the Wikipedia, dendrochronology is the scientific method of dating tree rings, also called growth rings, to the exact year they were formed in a tree. So yeah, dating
amazing
wood. And different environmental factors. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm an expert now.
Thank you to Catherine for teaching us a new word. And thank you for Daniel for your excellent on-the-spot fact-checking.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Yes. Wow. So wattle and daub is something that we don't see as much, I don't think, here in the United States.
Yeah, it's kind of like lath. So there's kind of like wooden sort of sticks almost that go across the panels. And then it's kind of like straw and mud kind of thing, or clay. And then it's all sort of like stuck together to kind of make the walls sort of thing. So we've got some of that in the hallway and then some of it also upstairs. So it's like a bit strange, really, like how it's all sort of formed.
And if I remember correctly, the lath is not like the wooden lath that we think of with plaster, but it's almost like a basket weave or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like kind of woven like that, kind of in and out with it. Yeah.
So 12,000 square feet. Has this always been a home, someone's home? Was this an inn?
Yeah.
What was okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it was always a family home. They kind of, the people from 1830s sort of onwards, it stayed in with the family and sort of went down through various sort of generations. And then eventually they sort of, didn't have any more children and the house sort of got sold then. But then it went to sort of military, really, and it became a school in the Second World War. It was a boarding school for girls at one point. So they were all running around and having a nice time here. And two of the ladies actually came to see us a couple of years ago. So they're now in their 90s. And it was really interesting them coming around and saying, oh, this is where they used to do their lunch. And they slept in this bedroom and they did this. And they remember playing in the gardens and doing like school plays and things like that. And it was just really, it sort of like changed the way we sort of looked at it a little bit, because we were like, oh my God, that's like, the hallway with the tiled floor. That was their like where they ate their lunch. They had all long tables down there. And it's just got visions of like these 60 little children all just sort of sat there eating there. It's just totally different to how it is now, which is really nice to sort of think how it was. And she had really nice memories of being here. And, they said they loved their time here. They were evacuated from down south from the bombing and things like that was happening down there. And this sort of area was classed as like a safe sort of place for them to sort of carry on the schooling and grow up. But they stayed here away from their parents. They were all evacuated from here. So.
Wow.
Wow. I feel like you created an opening by mentioning the tiled floor.
Yes, let's go there.
In there with the floor.
First of all, I feel it's impossible that you're listening to this podcast and haven't seen this tiled floor. But in the off chance you haven't, can you talk about the discovery of this tiled floor and what happened then? Because it seems like it really changed the trajectory of things.
Yeah, it kind of did. We were sort of getting ready to decorate the hallway and thought, we'll start decorating this part of the house, nice and straightforward. And when we viewed the house, we thought maybe there's a tiled floor under here and pulled up a section of carpet. But we just saw the grey sort of self-levelling compound and we just went, oh, whatever's been here is long gone now. It's gone, and didn't think anything else of it and carried on doing what else we were doing. There was roof work going on, boilers being fitted and things like that. And then we thought, start decorating, get it ready for Christmas maybe, start decorating the hallway, get it painted. And I pulled up a different section by the staircase and was like, that's different. And that was when we first saw the first few tiles. And then obviously that was it, then ripping carpet up and trying to see what was there. And some of it was there, some of it was covered, some of it was obviously really damaged. And pulling up the carpet revealed this huge tiled floor, which then kind of changed the whole way we renovated most of the downstairs of the house. Basically, it kind of changed everything. But it's a big tiled floor, and I don't know if many other people would have gone to the same lengths we kind of did to try and restore it. But it kind of definitely took us a few years to do. But yeah, it was a bit of a project.
Well, let me explain it poorly and then say that I'm going to add some links to it in the show notes for people to really see what it is. But it is, I don't know how you would describe, are these not cement tiles? They would be like
encaustic.
Encaustic?
Right?
Yeah, they're encaustic tiles. That's it.
Okay. And they are squares, but in this really ornate pattern. I'm actually looking at a picture right now, and there's a border. I mean, this is not just plain tile floor. This is an intricate pattern.
Yeah, it's quite busy as a pattern. It is a very busy pattern. And, when people sort of are like, oh, gosh, how do you kind of live with that? And it's like we've kind of got really used to it. But
it must be really hard.
Yeah.
We kind of like, my eyes have got used to seeing it every day. But I think, a lot of people's decor might not quite work with it. It's kind of like quite busy. But it was, there's thousands of handmade tiles in that floor. And I think a lot of the work that we kind of encountered with it were, the house has been changed quite a few times. So everyone's quite surprised that the house isn't listed. It's not got any historic sort of preservation, nothing on it. The only thing we've got is our railings on the front. They date back to the war. But other than that, the property itself has got nothing on it. So no one's done anything wrong by changing the layout. Nothing's, it's nothing like bad. But when they did change the layout in the 60s, walls, doorways were bricked up, new doorways were added, extra bits were added to the property. A lot of things happened. And the floor basically kind of got covered up after that. It's been carpeted quite a few times, for different renovations and different decor styles and stuff. But yeah, it did kind of, people are like, it protected quite a lot of it. And I'm like, kind of. It kind of like also damaged thousands of tiles. Well, yeah, we made over 1,000 in the process of restoring it.
Wow. Oh, I didn't realize that. I knew you made some.
Yeah, no, there was loads. That's why it took us so long, because obviously we kept like, we weren't expecting to do this. We would be doing a bathroom or something, and then it was kind of, we need more tiles. So we'd sort of like do a section and then pay for them, and then do another section, pay for them. And that's kind of why it kind of took so long, really, because there was quite a lot that needed doing.
Well, yes. And how did you find the tiles that you needed?
So I sort of am a bit of a Google find researching kind of thing. I really, really love finding all the historical different details and things. And I found a tile catalogue it was online from around 1870, and the design of the tiles was in it. And once we'd got the tile design, then I could sort of track it back and all the rest of it. So, but yeah, finding that catalogue online kind of enabled me to then sort of piece it all back together again, which was really cool.
Wow.
So on that note, like, I know you as the woman from social media with this incredible home, and you do all of this like really impressive work, and your dad is incredibly charming and very skilled. Like, what is your actual background that sort of drew you to this and doing it in this very hands-on, like, you are super like, I've seen you make these tiles. Like, what are you doing? How do we become Catherine Holloway?
I suppose for me, my day-to-day actual job, my sort of day job, I'm a graphic designer and I run a marketing agency. So I kind of, that pulls in the social media side and also the designy side of sort of how it all sort of works. But my dad was a design technology teacher. So is that in America like called craft kind of thing? Is that sort of, do you do shop kind of thing? Yeah. So
shop. I think it would be shop, or it would be like a technical program now. So yeah, sort of a hands-on trades kind of program.
He's like a sort of woodwork kind of teacher kind of thing. So yeah, sure. So he's kind of did that forever basically. So he would teach woodwork, metalwork, textiles, so sewing, and also cooking and design. So he's kind of a bit of an all-rounder.
Yeah.
So if your dad's always making things, doing things, if you need a new zip put in your, your jacket or something, he can do that. He'll make you a cake. He can do all sorts of things. He's quite practical. So he's sort of really an influence to that as well, because I've always grown up with him mending something, or there's always been like everything in, their house. There's always something that sort of he's been working on, or when I've always bought stuff, it's always like, oh, take it to dad, he'll fix it. So there's always been that kind of curiosity of how things work and how to sort of fix them, definitely with myself. I suppose a lot of the tradesmen we do have here are brilliant and extremely patient as well with me. And they kind of know that, if you show someone how to do it, they can kind of learn from them. So I'm kind of their little apprentice really now. And they've sort of set me off on quite a few jobs and tasks. And they know I can do certain things now as well, which is really good, which kind of helps them out as well. So,
yeah. I will say the house that I did before this one, I learned a lot from the tradespeople who worked there too. They were just so kind, and they would answer my questions and show me how they were doing stuff. And that was a big leaping off point for me, feeling brave enough to do the house that I'm in right now. So it's interesting to hear you say that too, and makes me happy. Makes me happy there are good teachers out there still.
They are. They're really good. And like I say, with Windows and yourself, you can kind of learn from watching people online as well. And that gives you that sort of confidence to have a go and be like, right, I'm going to give it a go and have a look at doing this. But then when you get those little tiny, I'm sort of moving on to splicing bits of wood into windows and stuff now. And it's kind of, well, for me, I kind of need somebody there to almost show me how to do it. And then once I've done it a couple of times, then I'm like, oh, okay, I can do a bit more complicated stuff and sort of build up from there, really.
So speaking of that, like, one thing I've observed that I think I know is that you have kind of taken things a step further than I think most of us in this kind of space, where we'll look stuff up online and then just kind of try it. You have actually secured like formal training in faux bois work or faux finishing work generally.
Oh yeah, I love doing that. That is one of my...
I love watching you do that.
That's one of my favorite things.
So like, how do you go about, I guess, deciding you want to learn this thing, and then how do you find the person who's going to teach you and like make that happen?
I suppose in this area, there's quite a lot of people who still do quite traditional crafts and skills, because people are like, oh, how did you find the tile manufacturer? That's amazing. And I'm like, they're like 20 miles up the road. It's not, it's like, it seems like really like outrageous kind of thing. But because I suppose in the area where the house is, it's kind of Shropshire, the sort of county where we're based, and where all the tiles and things are made. It was like the start of the Industrial Revolution. The iron bridges there, they were smelting iron and making the tiles and exporting them all over the world and stuff. So it's really fortunate for us that these factories are still there. Maybe not as big as they were back in the day, but, the buildings are all still there, and there's still people, making all these things in quite a traditional way. So quite a lot of the people who I've learned things from are all probably in about a 30-mile radius of the house as well. So it's not like I'm traveling it seems probably like I'm traveling miles around the country trying to see all these different people, but the majority of them are quite close up the road kind of thing, which is really nice as well to do.
I'm just picturing us in the US. Yes, I had to order my tile from the UK and then had it shipped over here on the barge and then picked it up in the port in New York. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I went 30 miles down the road and picked up my tile and brought it back. Yeah,
I just went up the road. It's kind of, but yeah, it is good that there's so many of these. Well, not loads of them, but there is still these traditional companies who are still manufacturing stuff the same way that they were doing 150 years ago. So it's really, I'm quite passionate about promoting them sort of online as well, because it's just brilliant watching these people make these really specific things. You're like, how are you doing that? And they're like, that's their day-to-day job. It's brilliant. And I suppose with the faux painting effects, again, the company I went to, I've gone to on a few different courses now around the country. But one of the people who I did sort of learn quite a lot from there, again, they're only a few miles away up the road. And I spent quite a lot of time over there with Roger and his daughter Kate, learning how to do sort of traditional painting, faux marble, faux wood effects and all sorts of things like that. But I think it's a really interesting thing, all the paint finishes, because it is for in your house for doing restoration. But a lot of the people on courses that I've been on, they're set painters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're doing stuff for Bridgerton and things like that, and doing all the fake stuff behind, which I didn't even think of was a whole industry. But there's a lot of people that do stuff like that for film and television and stuff like that, and they have to be able to make the set look like fake marble and stuff. And it's kind of I'm like, that's an amazing job.
I know a couple of people who that is professionally what they do, and yeah, it's mostly for film and TV.
Okay, I want a do-over of my career. I've decided now.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing. Literally, that's an amazing job.
And you're so good at it. You could just start anytime.
Well, you did it you did it with the doors at yours, didn't you?
Well, I didn't want to talk about myself.
They were really good.
Well, thank you. I mean, I really did how do I say this in a PG way? I did a bad version of what you did a professional job of. And then I did the gross American blogger version. And then inevitably dozens of people sent me yours as, you should see what she, and I'm like, well, I know, but I can't. I'm not her. I have no idea where to get those brushes. So anyway, I am both incredibly impressed and a little jealous.
Oh, a lot jealous over here.
I thought yours looked awesome. They looked really cool.
Thank you. Oh my God, that means so much. I'm going to start crying.
Well, I think we need to point out, too, is that, you're doing all these things. You have this giant house you're working on. You also have a child.
Yep, got a little one.
and a partner, Phil. So I'm just curious, your creativity is endless. How do you fit everything in? I can't picture it.
I don't sleep, probably. I think that is the answer. Literally, everyone's like, how do you do it? And I'm like, yeah, we sort of do fit everything around. And like I say, since having, I suppose, little one as well, I sort of do quite a lot of, projects and working from home and things like that, which helps as well. And I suppose that's why it's taken us 7 years. If we'd have done it and money was no object and you could just throw countless tradespeople at stuff, maybe it would have been done sooner. But, we both do work and carry on doing everything else and, go to swimming lessons with a child and do all the rest of it, kids' parties and all the rest. So it does take us longer to do things, which I get some people, especially with social media and stuff, when they're following along, they kind of are like, I remember with the tiles, people were like, oh, this took you ages. I can't believe it was really complicated to follow along with. It took you forever. I was on maternity leave. I've got a baby. I wasn't just doing this. I was doing it in when my mom could look after her or something for the odd day and I could go down to a factory to go do them. But yeah, there is that kind of thing where people sort of want to see these houses turned around instantly. And we kind of were never we were never going to do that, hence why as is still going on years and years and years later, whereas people have built houses, moved, sold them onto their next project, and we'll still probably be here installing fireplaces, or I'll be scraping windows or doing something or other. But that's kind of what we wanted, really. I think Phil sort of said when we bought the house, he was like, we don't want to, we do spend a lot of time doing it, and I do spend hours on things, but he was like, we're not becoming tied to this house forever. We're never going to leave and go on holiday. It's not going to be the be all and end all kind of thing. And we do kind of fit our life around it. But like I say, it does take a bit longer, I suppose. But that's why we took it on, and we knew we'd keep it forever. Well, as long as we're able to, we're here. And that's it. We'll keep it as best we can and keep working on it, keep plodding away at it. But yeah, we are probably one of the slowest restoration/renovation accounts you're ever likely to see.
Catherine,
No.
7 years on a 12,000 square foot, 200-year-old house. You're doing fine. Trust me.
Yeah, I will give you plenty of awards, Catherine, but the slowest renovator will not be one of them.
I'm sorry. We're the panel of experts.
Yes. So you mentioned, because I'm always curious about work-life balance when it comes to these houses. You mentioned we want to go on holidays sometimes and do these things. How do you live in this house? It's so big, and you have a child, and you have a life that doesn't involve restoring things. So do you have just a portion of the house you like to keep neat and tidy and you live in and everything's great? Or, how does that even work?
We kind of live in certain rooms, and there's sort of bits that we don't, like little ones, playrooms and stuff like that you don't sort of see. We tend to stick to the sort of historical stuff that we're working on. But we kind of doing an elevation at a time now, whereas before we sort of were firefighting a lot, especially with things like windows and roofs and stuff like that. We were like, there's a problem, we need to get onto it. Whereas now there's a lot more kind of planning really with it. And we're like, right, we'll focus on that side, get in all the stuff, finish that side, the windows and all that's elevation, and then move on to the other side. So that's what we're kind of trying to do now. It's a bit more kind of planned. Everyone's kind of all knows what they're doing. But again, we're also kind of quite, you're restricted with sometimes the tradespeople that you want to use and need to use. So there's a project that's not on Instagram at the moment, exclusive. There's two actually that aren't online that are being done, but I am doing them, but I'm not doing them because I'm not an electrician and I'm not a stonemason. So it's kind of, there's things I can do, but I can't, help out with all those sort of things.
You will be.
I'll be there. I'm there. I'm always there. I'm always like, ooh, what's this? Like helping, but I'm not physically doing it kind of thing. Yeah, there's kind of a couple of big projects on the front of the house, but we thought because with the tile project and people kind of got confused with the story and how it was all done, I thought I'll bank it all up and then kind of just let it all go out, even though it kind of will have been done over about 8 months as a project. It'll probably come out quite quickly at the end, just so it sort of flows a bit more as a story.
People will complain about that too, by the way.
Yeah, they'll be like, it's done too quickly.
Yes. We'll talk after it's posted.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I thought I'll try and do it that way just to sort of, so then people can kind of see. But yeah, even those projects, we've had to wait, for stonemasons, we couldn't do stuff with lime mortar over the winter. So, we've had to wait for better weather and, for these guys to be available, when they finished on other projects. So we do have to wait, and that sort of does have an impact on the projects we do take on, what we start, and also when things are ultimately finished, because all the tradespeople, they're busy and, they're in demand as well. So we have to sort of fit in around them as well.
Are there other of these very traditional kind of artistic skills that you would like to add to the feathers already in your cap?
Oh, well, I kind of wanted, I keep saying it's like my second career, really. And that's sort of, I don't know if that's like a common thing that people do. You kind of get to that point in your life and you've done I've done my kind of corporate life and things like that. And now I've kind of really figured out I'm quite good at making things. I quite enjoy making things. So I kind of want to go down more of the historic kind of joinery route and carpentry sort of side, but also pull together with the paint finishes as well. So sort of pull those two kind of things together, which kind of will make a lot of the finishing and sort of trim and details in the house really, really come together. And I really like doing little fiddly jobs and things like that. It's just sort of something I really enjoy.
We've noticed.
That's what I'd like to kind of focus on. And especially now our daughter's getting a bit older as well now. She's going to start school. It's a little bit more time for me to maybe do some more training and things like that, and then hopefully shift shift over into something a little bit more like that. That's what I'd really like to do. But yeah, definitely a lot more skills to learn on the joinery and carpentry. That's what I'm sort of focusing on at the moment. And what's another one I'm sort of like really interested in? There's lots of things. I love doing the tiles. That was still my favourite thing in the world ever. That's very niche. I don't think I'd have to literally be like, can I have a job here? I think there's about 25, 30 people at work there. There's quite a fair few people at work there making tiles and things. But yeah, definitely, I think focusing on the sort of woodworking side is where I'd kind of like to sort of focus. But new skills, I'm not great at sewing. That's something I'm not really good at. I don't know why. I'm not very good at that.
But do you want to be, is the point.
You know, when you just want to be able to make stuff really quickly.
Yeah,
like, just
I
whip
do.
up a pair of curtains.
I do know
It's
that.
kind of something I'm not... I don't know. I just sort of, I'd love to be able to do it, but I'm kind of not quite, my mind doesn't work that way sometimes with how things are made.
That is a skill that I have, but I don't enjoy it whatsoever. So like I'm totally put out whenever I have to sew anything or fix something or if it's, oh, I could make that pillow. And I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to make this pillow. Yeah. Don't make me sew.
I'd love to be able to do that, though. I would love to be able to do it. I'm going to try and make a little curtain to cover over a washing machine, and that'll be kind of like the peak of my skill level, I think, on that.
Yeah. Well, rectangles are always good. Yeah. Rectangles are my
start with
favorite
that.
thing to sew. Yeah. You can gather them. You can, yeah. There's all sorts of things you can do with a good rectangle. So you said you're constantly uncovering surprises in this house. The tile was a giant thing, but what other kinds of things are you uncovering just like surprise that people covered up?
All sorts of things, really. Sort of every room you go into, you kind of find something. So even though the house did have a lot of renovations done by, in different eras, sort of, the 2000s, the 70s, the 60s, they did cover things over. So instead of ripping things out, they kind of just like covered it over. And it's like, okay. So behind me, even here, there's a passageway there that I just literally love to cut that out and like knock it through. But it's kind of like feels like, don't you dare. Like literally, we know it's there. Let's finish doing some other rooms and then you can do it. Sort of thing. So it's kind of, we know where there's things in different rooms that we've kind of like, there's hollow walls and bits where fireplaces, you could walk around tapping all the walls in this place to try find things. It's, and we have sort of done that. But a lot of the things what's a really popular one? The height chart on the shutters. I love that. I couldn't believe that when I found that.
I don't know that one. Yeah.
We didn't know the house had shutters in any of the rooms. And I cut them open, and then one of them, it was all wood grain, so then that started me on the wood graining thing. And it's got the heights of the family when they did the census in like 1861 or something. And it's he was really tall. The Victorian guy that lived here was like 6'1". I'm like, that's pretty tall.
Yeah.
So he was kind of there, and he had all his family and his nieces and like the lady that looked after the children, like a governess kind of thing. And they're all on there, and it's kind of like just the handwriting. You're like, oh my God, they did that. Then that's so like such a long time ago. And you're like, oh, I wonder what the conversation was like. Ooh, let's be rebellious and write our names in the shutters. It was, I don't know. I'm like, oh, what were they thinking? It's a bit like finding little things that are actually theirs is like really sort of interesting for me. We've got covered over fireplaces that I haven't touched because Phil does he's the slightly more sensible one. So he's just like, finish one room and then you can go on to the next one. So there's lots of things where I think there are other things that I'd like to kind of uncover. We've also found lots of things in the garden. We were talking about one today. There's the ice house in the garden that they would have used back in the day to store like meat and vegetables and fish and things like that. We've uncovered it, but covered over it. And every time we go to
Is it underground?
Yes. So it's kind of like, it should look like an igloo almost.
Yeah,
like
and you would climb down a ladder into it or something. Yes, okay.
So we've got the underground part and kind of like about that far above ground, but we kind of need the sort of curved top part. And every time we go to like a stately home or something, you can see these in the gardens and we're there like looking at them, taking photos, things like that, saying, how have they done this? How have they done the doorway? So we've got one of those. We've got... there's all sorts. There's paths in the garden, brick paths, bone paths, all sorts of things that are a bit weird that the Victorians did.
Tell me more about bone paths real fast.
That was a bit of a weird one. So we've had like archaeologists come and look at that. And that's another clue that also dates the house or part of the house older than it actually is. And the family that was here, the sort of before the Victorians or around Victorian time, but the family that was linked to them, they had a tannery. So they would have had surplus bones potentially if they were sort of processing animals. It was sort of a thing. We looked into them, and these bone paths, they're knuckle bones. So they're kind of like that kind of part, like of the animal.
Around a wrist or something, yes.
Yeah, so they're stuck in vertically in the ground, but there's like hundreds of them, hundreds, thousands of them, all in a pattern. So they would have been like, I suppose at the time, white and shiny. I thought I'd uncovered like a dog grave. I was literally like, we found some bones. I was like, oh my God, what's this? And then was down there like time team with a little dustpan and brush, thinking I was like some archaeologist. And this thing just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And we were like, this isn't like someone's pet burial ground. This is like a lot. And then we sort of spoke to some museums. We spoke to some archaeologists. People came out and they were like, oh, they were kind of rare because a lot of them got dug up or people moved them. And that's way before Victorian era. That's older again. So again, that's another thing to get done is get the bones dated and things like that. But obviously when you're doing windows, you're having the roofing work done, you're doing stuff like that, it's always the extra thing that you're like, oh, spend some money on dating some bones I found in my garden. It's kind of...
Now, what's the expert's title for that one?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I wonder what it is. Would it be like, it wouldn't be like carbon dating or something, would it? I don't know. I've not watched enough like mystery shows to know what the kind of the person would be for that. I don't know, but you can get it done anyway. Someone would do it.
You seem so calm about that. Like, I think if I had first initially uncovered it, I would have thought maybe I had just bought someone's home that was a serial killer or something, you know. Was that where your mind went, Daniel?
Yes, very first thought. Absolutely.
And I feel like your first thought was, this is interesting. I need an expert to come here and tell me when this was put in.
I was like, what is this? And like, there's like, you know, there's all sorts of things that you sort of start looking, yeah.
Do you remember, just out of pure curiosity, what era that would be from?
Oh, they did register it with like some thing. I can't think what it was. They came in. I'll have to find it because it was ages ago since we looked at that. But there's not many of them anyway in the country.
Yeah.
And then we were sort of told that to cover it back up with soil. So to sort of protect it until we were kind of ready to do something in that area. So it's kind of covered back over with soil now. We know where it is. So it's all marked out like, don't go near it kind of thing. But yeah, that was a really weird thing to find. Like, because you don't expect it, do you? You're just like sort of, just put some plants in my garden. And then you're like, what is this?
Just my road full of bones.
Yeah, it's just a bit weird. But yeah, I was like, at the time, I was like, what have we found? This is weird. But yeah, they did say it was back in the day, a long time back in the day. They were just using up what they had in the garden, you know, in their gardens and made a mosaic out of it. And there wasn't anything weird. It wasn't anything like weird and creepy or anything. It was just they thought it looked cool at the time.
I promise it's not weird. Just a road of bones. Quick question. On the flip side of that, are there things that you like expected to find and then just weren't there?
Well, initially it was the tiled floor when we first moved in, we pulled it up, but then we did find it, but just not in that place where we thought it was. The wooden floors, I get excited when I find a wooden floor. And this is like a really strange thing for us. Like when we English people in general are doing up these houses and we get excited by original Victorian floorboards, you just get absolutely hammered in the comments by people from the States going, that's a subfloor. And we're like, it's not. It's our actual floorboards.
I'm so sorry.
It's like a different thing. It's so funny.
We really are the worst. I apologize.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. You know what you have and what you found. Wow, shocker.
We're simple. We're simple people.
We get quite a lot of that, though, with comments on those things. And I know they would have had a rug over it and stuff. And we do put rugs over, you know, we're not just like, here they are kind of thing. They do get, you know, furniture and rugs and things over them. But yeah, we haven't got a lot of them because the parts of the house were changed quite drastically. We've got chipboard floors in quite a lot of the rooms. So people are like, oh, I bet your house is so creepy and creaky and old and haunted. And you're like, no, not really. It's like the screwed down boards in quite a lot of the rooms. It's absolutely fine. So when we do find like an actual original floor, it's a little bit more exciting than, look, some chipboard. And then we have work to put back floorboards because I quite like the look of them as well. And but that is hard work. When we nailed all those floorboards down in that bedroom, that was a job. That really was a job.
All right. Well, we are close to the end of our time. So I have one more question I'd like to ask. Daniel, is there anything you just feel like you're missing that you wish you could ask right now?
Not especially. I have like two kind of questions.
Okay, go for it. Do those real quick, and then I'll ask my final question, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, I feel like you kind of already answered one, but just to confirm, is it haunted even a little bit?
I don't think so. I've not like, there's no creepy vibe. And loads of people say that when they come here, they'll be like, there's no like weird vibe in your house. And I'm like, oh, thanks. You know what I mean? But they're not like, I'm like, thanks for that. We did have a couple of the trades guys who were like really into it. And he was like, let me sleep in your cellar. I want to find the ghosts kind of thing. Like they go on actual like ghost hunts and things like that. And even he was kind of like, yeah, it's not like, there's not like weird bits. It doesn't feel funny, this place. It's got a nice vibe about it. So no, I don't think it is. I don't know. But yeah, no one's ever said, oh, what's that? You'll be like looking behind me now. Like, is there something there? Like, what's moving? But no one's ever sort of said, oh, what's that? Or that's a bit weird. Or why is that door slammed or something behind you? It's not, I don't know. Maybe if there are any, they're happy. I don't know. They're happy they've got their floor back. They're like, yes. Where's that floor been?
Well, that's like the common thing with all these ghost stories we hear in October. Usually it's once I started working and they could tell I was doing a good job, they sort of started leaving me alone. It's like the common trajectories. Yeah. I think your spirits are happy.
Oh, hopefully. Like I said, I've never seen any of them. I've said that. You watch now. Someone will let me know. You've done it now. You started it.
All right. So I'm going to wrap this up by asking you, let's look into the future. You have this 12,000 square foot house. You're always going to be a project person. So I'm not asking you when you're going to be done, because that's not going to be a thing as far as being done. But let's say you have all the rooms to a usable state. All 12,000 square feet are now usable. How do you picture that being utilized? Do you want to have people like kind of a bed and breakfast? Do you want to just keep it open for a family? Like, where do you see this?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's mainly just like, open for friends and family, really. So we kind of, people stay over, you kind of, and all the rest of it and stuff. And we do use a lot of the rooms downstairs as well. Like, Phil works from home, I work from home. And then obviously you've got the kitchen, dining rooms, things like that. And we love hosting things. We're having an event here on Sunday. So we're having one for local elderly people who live on their own. So we're having that on Thingamabob. So we are good at events. I like doing, things like that and stuff like that, because it is a sort of house that's, like say, got a good feeling and vibe around it. And, there's no point just us rattling around in it the whole time. It's nice to open it up. People are interested. They do like to sort of see what's there, what's behind there, sort of thing. So we do sort of do small little hosty parties and things for the local sort of area and things. But yeah, it's just a house. Like I say, it's just a house, just a big one, I suppose. It's just a bit bigger than your normal one. But it is a very Christmas, you can have like 28 of us all around here and stuff like that, because it's like sort of all family and people like that and, parties and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of just like that. We seem to fill it, even though it doesn't seem like we do. We do seem to sort of fill it with stuff, especially things I managed to find as well at auctions. But yeah, so it's kind of one of those, really. We will just keep, using it, filling it, and like I say, having parties and family and friends over and stuff like that.
And you would consider us friends?
You can come, literally.
Great.
Honestly,
great.
Come over.
I think we need a field trip, and we need to go see all these craftspeople and what they do within this 30-mile radius of where you live. I am intrigued.
I would do a really good tour of doing that, genuinely. I'd be like, right, come on, we're going over here. We're going to go see this. We're going to go make some tiles. We're going to go do this.
That would be incredible.
It'd be the nichest trip you've ever been on. You'd be like, where do these people live? It's like going back in time.
Like an actual dream. I'm so excited.
Yes.
We'll be in touch.
All right, Catherine, thank you so much for doing this today, for telling us about your beautiful house. And if people want to find out more about your project and find you on the internet, where shall they go?
They can follow us I'm on all sorts of platforms. So now we're on TikTok, that's our main one, and Instagram, along with Facebook. And we're also just starting to do longer format videos on YouTube as well. So you'll be able to see a bit more of the behind the scenes. But the username that we sort of use across all of them is To the Shire Born. So that's the one that you'll find us on. And like I say, we're on all of the main platforms.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
That was such a fun interview.
What a lady. What a house. My goodness.
12,000 square feet. I can't even. I really can't. I have my hands full
So
with
big.
this.
That
Yeah.
is 6 of my houses. That is so big.
I'm so impressed by her dedication to the trades and how much she learns each time she has a new project. It's very inspiring.
Yes, it's been like a genuine joy over the years to follow her account because of that. Like she's just so creative and willing to try all these different things and really good at like finding the person who can teach her those things. What an awesome person.
What a field trip that would be, huh, Daniel?
Yeah. Maybe we can help restore the Victorian ice house or,
Yes.
just whatever. The bone pathways.
Right. Oh gosh, the bones. That was crazy. I've told that story to several people and they were not as excited about it as I was. They thought it was kind of weird. I think it's great.
Say, did they hear that it's a path made of bones? And
They
still
did.
weren't.
Still not impressed. All right. Well, as we wrap up this season, because it's time to do that, we really want to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you who listened, sent in questions, shared your stories, and supported the show. Your curiosity, enthusiasm, and your love of old houses. It's what makes this community so special. Thank you for listening to True Tales from Old Houses. And thank you to Tara for today's listener question and to our guest, Catherine Holloway. Many thanks to our sponsors, The Window Course, Sutherland Wells, Repaint Studios, and Old House Hub. We say it all the time, but this show could not happen without them.
We are also so grateful to the rest of our guests this season, which started with Brent Hull, Josie, the psychic realtor, Pete Galloway, Robert Killian, Amy Elias from The Lavender Ghost,
Fred Perzillo from Taliesin West, and Pat Evans for putting that whole Taliesin West field trip together. Rod Whale, way up there in Nova Scotia. Michiel Bruns from Bruns & Co.
Laura, who came on to share her love of her Lustern house, Scott Seidler, and our friend Olivia Wood.
And a special shout out to Nick from Mike Me, who sifts through all of our recording screw-ups and puts each show together so beautifully.
To continue the conversation, follow True Tales from Old Houses on Facebook or Instagram. You can follow me individually at Daniel Cantor and Stacy at Blake Hill House.
Keep in touch and let us know how you're spending your summer by sending us messages and voicemails. We love both. And as a reminder, if you like today's episode, hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening right now. It's free and it helps more Old House lovers find us. Until next time.
Have a great summer, everybody.